Okay, folks, Andrew Bopros here. Well, I want to talk a little bit about getting down to the 53-man roster. I know a lot of people are going to be a little frustrated with some of the changes that are going to be happening with this team moving forward. We understand it's tough because we got our favorite players, and I get it, right? Jim Harbaugh had an interesting way of talking about how the cuts are going to be made. Little shocking, very different way of moving forward with this regime to our prior regime. So a lot to talk about, guys. It's going to be interesting, guys. Interesting one, guys. So as always, Andrew Bopros, let's get into it. Bopros! Okay, folks, as always, like and subscribe if you do enjoy the content. I'm Andrew Bopros. And again, Jim Harbaugh recently, just right after that game, after our final preseason game, came out and said, guess who's going to be in charge with running the entire 53-man roster? Joe Hortiz. I thought that was really interesting, and I didn't think that it would go like that. We're so used to Tom Telesco. I mean, I think Kyle calls him the water cooler guy. He's just sort of there drinking water and coffee and not really doing a whole lot. But clearly, Jim Harbaugh and Joe Hortiz have a great working relationship. And I think that was one of the bigger concerns moving forward, that, Jim Harbaugh is hard to work with. Well, clearly he's not. He's come out and said exactly, and let's see if I can find his exact words. He said, Joe Hortiz is going to run it. I want him to do it because he's watching everybody, not only our team, but every other team, right? And I'm going to be Robin. And he is Batman, right? Which I thought was really cool. So he says, we trust Joe. He's the best in the business. And then he basically said the best 53 players will be on our team. And, there's a lot to be said about that, right? So again, a lot of the defensive backs have been cross-trained. There's a lot of different, there's a lot of different ways they could sort of make that 53-man roster. I'm going to talk about a few players as an example, but I also want to talk about the waiver wire discussion also. Now, again, we all know, Jim is saying Joe is going to make the final decision, right? But clearly these other people are going to be making additional decisions. Now, the way I would do it if I'm Joe, and again, I'm not Joe, of course. I'm not the general manager for the Los Angeles Chargers football team, but you got someone like Greg Roman here. He's going to say, hey, these are the people I want, right? He's probably going to stack rank his players in order and say, okay, I rank this guy here, and here's my wide receivers. These are my running backs. This is what I want to see. And again, you're going to see the same thing with Jesse Minter, right? He's clearly going to be stack ranking his players as he goes. So I'm sure there's a lot of data going into it, right? And there's going to be some conversations internally with all the coaching staff, with Joe Hortiz, about that. Now, they're going to evaluate other teams' players also. We all know they're cutting down. I really expect we're going to try and go after some players that are going to be released on other teams. So we need to talk about the waiver wire. The waiver wire is actually quite interesting. We had a whole video talking about it last year, but this is going to be an interesting one as well. So again, with Joe Hortiz, he's going to be making the final decisions, at least according to Jim Harbaugh, on who ends up being on the 53-man roster, and secondarily on, the practice squad, right? So sure, plenty of discussions on the composition of players. We want this many defensive players, this many offensive players, this many defensive backs, this many wide receivers, yada, yada. All of those conversations come into play. Or hell, they might just stack rank them and say, hey, these are the best players. Let's just go forward. Who knows? So I think that's very interesting. But let's talk about the waiver wire situation just to refresh everyone's minds, because we do know it's going to be Tuesday that they are going to be cut down to 53 men. And then that's when there's going to be a lot of movement, right? So we're going to be doing a lot of videos. We're probably going to talk about the 53-man roster. Initially, we're going to go live on that. And then we might talk about some speculations on players we might go after as well, too. So we might be going live Tuesday and Wednesday to talk about 53-man roster and then the practice squad. But let's just talk about the waiver wire first, right? This is the waiver wire process. And again, this happens every single year, too, by the way. So or after every single game, when people are waived, brought back, every team has the ability to grab players when they are available. But here's the waiver wire process: 24 hours after cuts. Okay, so just so you know, as soon as a player is cut, 24 hours who are released have less than players who are released and have less than 4 years of accrued NFL service are placed on waivers, meaning other teams can claim them within 24 hours. If a player is claimed, they join the claiming team's 53-man roster. Now, again, that happens at any given moment when they're available. If a player clears waivers, is not claimed by any other team, they become a free agent and can sign with any team, including their previous team. So we're going to cut to 53, okay? And that's going to be our people that are going to be available. Every other team knows what other teams have been cut, right? So they'll get a list. Here's 1,000 players. I mean, I'm just throwing a number out there that are available. Everyone can look down that list and say, okay, I like this guy, I like this guy, I like this guy, this guy. Okay. Then they're going to make a decision. Do I want to bring my guys back for the practice squad, or do I want to try and go get somebody else? Interesting note on that, though. If you've been in the league for over 4 years, you are able to just, as soon as you're released, immediately sign with any of the teams. So you're going to see some veteran players sign immediately as soon as they become available, right? So that's going to be an interesting. I'm actually thinking a lot of teams probably know some of the players that are available now moving forward. So that is an interesting little caveat. So again, over 4 years, you can be claimed at any point as soon as you've been waived. Under 4 years, you have to wait 24 hours. So that's kind of an interesting little caveat. But the practice squad formation, teams can sign up to 16 players to their practice squad. Practice squad players can be promoted to active roster throughout the season. We all know that when there's injuries, defensive linemen's out, cornerbacks, whoever, you can move people around, especially if injuries occur for specific game strategies. Certain veteran players are also eligible for practice squads, giving teams more flexibility with roster depth. Also, you can get an international pathways player as well. That does not count to the 16. Last year, there was 15 players. So they did add one player this year to the practice squad, which I thought was pretty interesting as well. So, again, it is an interesting conversation that we're going to be having moving forward. We're going to see a lot of movement on this team these next few days. And again, as I'm filming this video, there is no movement from what I've seen from the Chargers at all. Other teams have already started cutting. I don't want to go into that. I don't want to speculate. I don't even want to speculate what the 53-man roster is going to be because, again, I'm not Joe Hortiz. I'm not Jim Harbaugh. Let's just let them do their job, and we'll talk about it afterwards. But a good example, everyone hates Easton Stick. I'm not a huge fan of Easton Stick either. I think he's struggled a lot this preseason. And again, we posed the question when we did our post-game show, can Easton Stick win an NFL football game? I think the answer is no. He does not look like he can at this point. So my feeling is he most likely will be released. Now, again, question about Luis Perez. I don't know if Luis Perez will be around. You could easily tuck him away on the practice squad if you really wanted to. But there's going to be a lot of players available that you can go after, right? I think one is Tyler Huntley. Most likely will be able to go. I believe Tyler Huntley's also had more than 4 years in the NFL. So I believe he will be available if released by the Browns. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, most likely. Most teams are only going to carry 2 quarterbacks, right? That's all they're going to carry. They're not going to carry 3, but they're going to carry 2 and then try and tuck one away in the practice squad. If this guy's available, I think we go after him. I think he'd probably be my number one choice right now because he understands the offense. He understands Greg Roman. We can run the offense the way that Lamar Jackson ran it. Hell, he's Lamar Jackson number 2, okay? Which, hey, let's go get the guy. So, again, there's going to be a lot of available players moving forward. But, again, Tyler Huntley, I think is definitely going to be one. But a good example would be if he is released, we could go get him immediately. I think his actual salary was like $500,000 guaranteed monies from the Browns. Let's give him $1 million, $2 million a year to back up Justin Herbert. We'll see how that plays out, right? Plus, he understands the offense, guys. That's the other big part of the conversation. He understands the offense. He understands the situation. He understands NFL defenses. And, he would be a good addition. And he could go win some games. He did very well with the Ravens. Another guy's White from the Dolphins was just released. I think these are some guys that I do like as well. That would be easy scoop ups that I think are better than Easton Stick. And again, guys, if you think of it from like a Madden perspective, let's say Easton Stick, our coaching staff has Easton Stick rated at like 70, right? Well, if there's a quarterback that's available at 75, you'll probably make the move. Again, at the end of the day, it's all going to boil down to what we personally think our players are rated. How are they performing? Can we get someone better? Again, Jim Harbaugh said it this way: competitors welcome. We're gonna put the best 53 men on the field every single week, week in, week out. It's going to be interesting, guys. So what are your thoughts? What do you think about these cuts? Maybe give one or two people down there that you think we should retain or not, or definitely cut. As always, Andrew, Boat Bros, see you guys in the next one. And we are going to be going live tomorrow as well, too, as soon as the 53-man roster is released. See you guys then.
Hey, what's up? Cameron Dick here, watching Boat Bros podcast. Let's go.
Charged up, Boat Bros on the night.